Now, without further ado, I'm going to ask Lindsey to come on. And people, please, please, all this stuff is important, right? But this is very imperative that you pay close attention to what Lindsey have to say as it relates to the master plan. Because I looked at the numbers, Jersey City. I looked at the numbers of participants so far. And when I tell you, it is very, very, very disturbing for us to have that low of a turnout. We got to get it together. We just have to get it together across the board. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Lindsey to come on to give the Jersey City Master Plan. She's going to talk about why it's important, talk about the links, and talk about all of the latest information as she talk about the, excuse me, the Jersey City Master Plan. So Lindsey, are you here,
Hello,
Lindsey?
I am here. Can you hear me okay? All right. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Lindsey Sigmund with Jersey City's Division of City Planning. I am the environmental planner for the city, and I am managing the open space element of the master plan rewrite, which I'm here to talk about this evening. So, to provide an overview, city planning is rewriting our land use element and our open space, recreation, and community facilities element of the master plan. I'm just going to call it the open space plan for shorthand. It's a bit wordy. So I'm going to go over what the master plan is, where we are in the process, and how you can get involved. So first, what is a master plan? A master plan is a vision for future growth and development of a municipality, and every town, city, every municipality in the state of New Jersey is required to adopt a master plan. Jersey City's master plan will be a community-wide land use policy guide, which will be adopted by the planning board. And this plan will serve as a vision for future development and growth for the next 20 years. So, how will this be used in the future? So, while the master plan doesn't include laws and mandates, it will inform those future decisions. So, for example, if a change is proposed to a current zone, and for those of you who may not be as familiar with zoning, basically guides all development in the city. So, basically, what can be built where. So, in the future, if we want to make a change to a zone, we'd be looking back to this document to justify that change as to what can be built there. And our last full master plan was adopted in 2000, so 20 years ago. Obviously, a lot has changed in Jersey City in terms of growth and development of the city's land. Why is it important? I started touching on this, but the city uses the master plan to identify priorities and policy direction for the next 20 years, to adopt new laws, to make decisions on spending, so where the city budget goes, and to guide decisions on development applications. Other state, county, and local government agencies will use our master plan to better understand the city's priorities and to coordinate our projects that we're prioritizing. Businesses can use the master plan to understand where the city will be investing its resources in the future, and residents can use the master plan to hold their elected representatives accountable to this community-driven vision for the future of the city. So this is a timeline of the master plan process. This timeline is highlighting that our public survey closes tomorrow, which I will circle back to. So I will say from the top that while this plan is being guided by Jersey City staff, we do have a team of consultants that will be writing the plan. And we work very closely with them to ensure that they're talking to the right people and they have all the information that they need. We kicked off the master plan back in March, right before COVID started to become, those cases started spiking. So we obviously didn't anticipate this overlapping with a pandemic. So the past couple months, we've just been gathering information, having conversations with people to inform that pink line, that's the existing conditions portion of the master plan. Plus, while we wanted to have in-person engagement this summer, to pop in to all the events that typically happen over the summer, and just to talk to people in person, because that's really the best way to communicate. It obviously wasn't the safe option. So we worked with what we had. We had some virtual meetings and we had a socially distanced public meeting actually in Ward F's Berry Lane Park back in October. And we've had our public surveys open since August. They were originally supposed to close in October, but based on the number and the spread of where people were responding, we decided to extend it to November 20th, which is tomorrow evening. And it's really important that this master plan is a community driven plan. So it's really important that as we move into the next phase, draft plans and recommendations, that we have the feedback of the public to create that framework for the plan. While there'll be additional opportunities to get involved, this is just really the first step to really get a sense of where people's priorities are for the future of Jersey City. So right now we're wrapping up existing conditions. We're going to move into draft plans and recommendations and these small area vision plans, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then we'll be presenting the final plan over the summer, so July or August 2021. So like I mentioned, we're rewriting the open space element and the land use element. On the other side of this graphic here, these are some previously completed elements of the master plan. We have the housing element, circulation element, the bike and pedestrian master plans, and some climate action and resiliency plans. So all of these elements and other resources that the city has completed to date, sorry, my heat is blowing on me, will be used to inform the creation of these new plans. And I think the bike master plan is a really great example of how we translate a master plan document into something physical, something that's built out. We had this vision for bike lanes and protected bike lanes throughout the city, and I'm sure all of you have seen these being built out in real time. So I think that's just a great example of how this document turns into something that you can see and use as a resident. As this plan is written, evaluation of existing conditions for the city and subsequent recommendations will be evaluated through these four lenses: connectivity and mobility, economic opportunity, social equity, and climate resiliency. I mentioned that we're going to start working on the small area vision plans once the new year rolls around. So these plans will establish a vision for specific areas that will guide both private and public investment in said area. So we're selecting 3 areas for this master plan project. And these plans will be important for demonstrating how a larger citywide master plan can be implemented at a smaller scale. Sometimes it can be hard to imagine how this large land use and open space plan can be specified for your neighborhood. So this will be a great way to visualize that. And we can use these plans as a model for future small area plans. Because while we're just doing 3 right now, that, these will just provide framework for the future. The surveys are important for a number of reasons, but it's especially important for these small area vision plans because we're using your input to select these 3 areas. Rather than us setting the criteria for what's important, we're going to be using the survey responses to pick those 3 areas. So please take the surveys. Once I close my screen, I'm going to put the direct link to the surveys in the chat so you can all take it tonight or tomorrow because, like I said, it closes tomorrow evening. So once you follow the link, it's going to take you to this page. These are the 3 surveys: visioning, neighborhoods, and open space. Neighborhoods, that's the one that's going to inform those small area vision plans. And the open space survey, I think visioning is pretty self-explanatory, but the open space survey will be asking about parks and open space that you use and what you want to see in parks and open space. Like, for example, is a park that you frequent and it needs more amenities, it needs upgrades, there needs to be more recreational programming, it's hard to access, things like that. So like I said, I'm going to be throwing that link in the chat, and the survey is closed tomorrow. So please take it. Please share it with your friends, families, neighbors. People are more likely to take a survey if someone they know personally is asking them to take it and highlighting the importance. And this last slide is just showing some important links. That first one is jcnj.org/ourjc. That's the general master plan site, which will take you to the surveys. It'll take you to more information on the master plan. We even have the recorded presentations from those first virtual meetings that you could watch or download the presentations if you want to read more. You could follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at JC Master Plan. And if you want to get our emails, so staying up to date on next steps, you could send an email either to myself, feel free to share my contact information, the organizers of this meeting, or you can email ourjc@jcnj.org. That's the master plan general email. And that's all I have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment just so I could see everyone, but I could pull up any of these slides if anyone wants me to reference them.
Okay,
And that's all I
Lindsay,
have.
I do have some questions just
Great.
like off the bat that's jumping out to me because I'm privy to the numbers of the current participants. And when I look, at first I thought that I needed to hit update, or I thought that my device was some type of glitch, because when I looked at the numbers, I knew for sure, well, I thought for sure that those numbers cannot be indicative of the respondents that came out. So if you can, one, the first thing I want to ask is if you can give the latest update on the number of respondents in real time.
So those numbers that you saw were based on October 13th. So since then, we've received over 1,000 new responses across the 3 surveys since October 13th. So that month, because we started looking at the numbers and where responses were coming from in the city, and recognizing that we're in the middle of a pandemic and people have a lot of other things that are priorities for them right now, which is totally understandable. We reached out to all the council members and their ward representatives to help because they know their wards best, right? We can't be everywhere. We also partnered with the Jersey City Housing Authority to get paper surveys in multiple languages at all 8 of the public housing complexes in Jersey City. So we'll be collecting those next week. So those responses will be incorporated. We also distributed flyers and surveys with a number of Heights community groups. We distributed things at their Day of the Dead parade. We supplied surveys as part of their food pantry distribution. Councilwoman Ridley in Ward A helped us distribute flyers at their trunk or treat event. We've also done pop-ins like this, like I'm here today,
Okay.
Greenville. Yep, I won't go through all of it, but that's what helped boost the numbers. So
Did I hear you say that you gave out hard copies to housing complex and that you're subsequently going to begin to pick those up tomorrow? Is that correct?
yes.
Oh, okay. So
Well,
that's
we're going to start picking them up early next week, giving people the full day, and they get a couple extra days over the weekend. Just
so I'm gonna play devil advocate here for just a brief while here. Seeing that this is extremely important, right? That we take these surveys, that the community's input is considered when we're talking about the future vision of the city, i.e. the master plan. It- man, I'm because I'm torn between people not being responsible in a manner in which they should be because of the numbers. And I'm also torn between the information not being disseminated because in today's climate, right, we're so diverse as a group of people. We have a whole segment of population that don't get no news via social media, and then subsequently we have a whole part of the population that only get their news via social media. So I'm just wondering because I'm looking at the numbers, right? Even with the 1,000 people that just came in, and let's say another 2,000 come from housing, that push us to end or around almost 5,000. Last time I checked, Jersey City population was upwards of 300,000 or something, and I'm just of the opinion that we must track as many surveys and get many participants as possible. And given we're in uncharted waters, right? Given this COVID-19 pandemic, and again, you and your team did not foresee COVID, as none of us have foresee this taking place. But I do know that you said y'all started in or around March by disseminating information, and you subsequently postponed it from October to tomorrow. Is there any numbers which will suggest that your office, I don't know if you're actually in charge of the postponements and how that go, but is there any number that will suggest that we should need another postponement?
so we still need to pull the final data early next week to better understand where we are, not just numbers, because it's very unrealistic to even get half of Jersey City's residents to take
This is
a
true.
survey. This is just based on just surveying knowledge in general. What's really important is ensuring that it's representative of the population breakdown, which clearly that first round of numbers we pulled was
Yeah.
not. So that's why we did that extra poll. I know I'm creating such a sense of urgency, like fill out the survey, all that. Very important, but it's not the last opportunity for engagement. We are working on developing interactive maps on this online platform to build more visual surveys, and we're going to be changing out those questions as we move along. We're targeting that for around Christmas, going into the new year. So there will be other opportunities for more focused surveys, and we'll be crafting those questions on a number of things, but based on a gap in responses. Um, Based on this data that we comb through next week. Um, yeah.
So is there a possibility to merge with the mobile COVID units that's doing these rapid testing, seeing that individuals are at least taking advantage of these free testing at all these sites? Is there any way where we could kind of get two for one, if you will?
Yeah, I hear you. That was an idea, but unfortunately, as city employees, we are bound to what we're permitted to do by Health and Human Services. We wanted to go to even like in-person events. We wanted to table at farmers markets and things, and we were not permitted to do so as cases were on the rise. So it's really just more of a public health concern, especially going up to people who are waiting to get tested, who are either symptomatic or asymptomatic. So that was really the gap there. Once again, another curveball that a pandemic throws when you're trying to reach people.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I guess I'll check and see if we have any questions in a chat or any questions online. I guess some people ask, are you using any focus groups? I guess
Hmm.
this is pretty
Yes.
much just like self filling out of the surveys, correct?
Yes. So we encourage individuals to fill it out. Um, and we did create, I just put the direct link to the surveys in the chat.
Okay,
Just because I said I was going to do that. If you could share that on the Facebook, if I don't know if you're
definitely,
able to do that, that'd be cool
definitely.
for those folks listening there. Um, what was I saying?
About focus, the young lady had a
Oh, yes.
question about focus group, and it's with some possibility, or if you guys would considering focus groups or whatever.
Yeah, I think we're going to need to reevaluate, kind of reevaluate where we are based on the next round of responses, and pulling that data and like that report that I'm sure you took a look at and seeing where we are with the numbers and
Yes.
reevaluate from there. But we did do a number of stakeholder meetings with the land use and the open space team based on different topics. We even had like a developer roundtable. We had like a community facilities roundtable. We had an arts and culture roundtable, just based on recommendations from city council, like who are these players in
Hmm.
the community, not just city council, but other departments and divisions and people they work with through there. Also the SIDS, all the special improvement districts, Jackson Hill, Central Ave. They've been really helpful with suggestions, and just neighborhood leaders like yourself that we have contacts with. Just can we come speak at your meetings? What can we do with the limitations that we have? And we understand that it's not perfect, but we're trying and we're open to any suggestions as we move forward.
Okay, okay. So there you have it. She's currently there's nothing as it relates to focus group, but again they're in the process of working it out, trying to be as inclusive as possible. But again, people, I went and did it, right? And I got 5 of my kids disturbing me. I'm doing remote learning and everything, and literally took me 15. It's not that long, people. It is really not that long. At some point we must become responsible for ourselves, people. We can point fingers all the time, but at some point we have to do our due diligence and become responsible at myself. So Lindsey, I do just want to thank you for coming on here, giving this presentation. I'll be in contact with you
Great.
pretty much all day tomorrow, as I'm just trying to figure out how can we get as many people as possible. And off my head, I'm trying to think about a mechanism where I could offer off a raffle of about $500 just for individuals who just filled it out within the next 24 hours. So I'm just trying to figure out a mechanism which will show that they just filled it out, because you don't send an email confirmation, right, saying that you have filled this out or anything like that.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, because when I filled it out, it didn't. So I do, but I'm really hopeful that people will fill it out. I did get a lot of response and a lot of feedback. People was asking for the link. People were saying
Great.
thank you. People were saying that it was done. So I am grateful to that. But I'm just cognizant of one, the climate that we're living in with this COVID, and so many people. And rightfully so, like their minds are just focused on trying to survive in this climate. They're not thinking about, I mean, they're not thinking about elections. They're not thinking about surveys. They're just thinking about livelihood. How am I going to survive? How am I going to put food on the table? We have unemployment lines from here to Czechoslovakia, and everything is just like, out of whack. But I do again want to thank you for extending yourself to present to the Ward F Community Forum. And again, we'll be in contact with you through this whole process, as we want to make sure that all of our voices are being heard. So if you have nothing else to say, we will be moving right along.
Okay, great. Just want to say thank you so much for having me and look forward to working with you in the future.
We need to be very, very, very cognizant, right? Of the young lady basically just told us, right, that we need to the top one. There you go, right there. Okay. We need to be very cognizant of this master plan, right? Because this master plan is shaping the direction of our city. I mean, I don't know what else to say, people, as it relates to that, but I do want to make sure everyone is paying attention to why that stuff is important. So